You heard in our pre-Mass announcements that this coming week is National Vocations Awareness Week. We're going to have a special Mass and Holy Hour on Saturday morning on November 9th, and we invite you to come to that. And I think it's important for us to be aware of the need of vocations in the life of the church. And it's not just vocations to the priesthood or to religious life, but also to marriage, but also like our general vocation to holiness. And to be aware of this and to foster this in our lives and in our families, it's so crucial. It's not just something that we gather in the church to pray and think about. It's something we're thinking about and praying about and talking about at our dinner tables, in our conversations with family and friends. And you know, our parish does a great job of it. I say this with pride, but we're ground zero for vocations in our diocese. The number of younger people that Father Morin and I are working with who are discerning the priesthood, religious life, marriage, it's absolutely incredible. And that is not just because we've got, a wonderful location with the University of Maine. It's because we've got a wonderful parish full of wonderful people who are helping our young people to think seriously about the rest of their lives and what this is going to look like. And you can chase money and fame and fortune, you can do all of that, and none of that is going to fill you up. What is going to fill you up is your vocation, what you give your life to. And if that's as a priest at the altar, whether that's in a monastery or teaching in a school, whether that's in holy marriage, giving yourself and bringing new life into the world, or whether it's working out in the world as a single person just for the sake of the church and for the sake of the community, that's what's going to fill you up. And we take this opportunity to, again, think and pray and foster this, and to give thanks to God, too, for all of the opportunities that we have for vocations in our parish. So one of the things that this involves is I'm constantly checking in with our young people. I do spiritual direction for a lot of them, and I'm checking in with them each on a monthly basis. We meet for about an hour, and I'm also checking in with our seminarians who are studying in the seminary. And you know what the one thing they all have in common is they're all excited. They've got great zeal. They know that God is calling them to something beautiful, and they understand that it's going to be difficult because all good things in life are difficult. But they're excited, and they're ready and willing to lay their lives down. And when I'm hearing them, it excites me too. It fills me with joy and zeal again. Because sometimes it's easy as you get older and you get a little bit more tired and life has kind of dealt you some blows to lose that zeal and excitement. I mean, think about in your marriages, right? You've been married to the same person for I don't know how many years, right? Do they make your heart go pitter-patter every day? Maybe not. Maybe so. But you remember those days when. And if you can remember those days when that happened and tap back into that, you're not necessarily going to get the same feelings, the same butterflies in your tummy kind of thing, but it will bring back why you married them in the first place, or why you became a priest in the first place, why you became a religious, tapping back into that original zeal, that love. And when I'm talking to our young people, it does the same for me. But it also reminds me that, sometimes that early zeal, it needs to be tempered a little bit. When I was young and in the seminary, I had big plans for my life, big plans for what my priesthood was going to look like, big plans for what my whole life was going to look like. And it could have been like a project sheet with all of the checks that I was waiting to get through. I had big expectations. I was imagining myself as I was a seminarian and a young priest, kind of going into this like a soldier, ready to fight. And I had my whole regiment figured out, right? I was going to prepare for something big. So I would have to get up every morning, and I was going to pray for an hour. I was going to exercise for an hour. I was going to get ready to go. I was going to build great things and inspire large amounts of people and preach great sermons and convert the whole state of Maine, right? I had all of that in my head. And that's a good thing. That's a beautiful thing, right? We need that, but it's got to be tempered. And there's nothing like life to temper you a little bit on that. What life ends up doing is helping us to see that, yeah, big things are important, but with Jesus, big things are actually small things, and the small things are actually big things. Now, we've got two big commandments that we hear in our gospel today. Of the 613 laws that comprise the Mosaic Law, Jesus is asked by a scribe today to boil it all down. The scribe asks him, "Teacher, what is the greatest of all?" And Jesus says, point blank, the greatest is the love of God, and to put everything that you've got into it, all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your mind, all of your strength. All of the other laws are summarized by this law. And he adds in that the second, which is subordinate to it, but just as important, is that you must love your neighbor as yourself. Now, these are so big, and it's so easy to look at this and to do kind of the same thing that a young, zealous person does. To say, ooh, okay, I've got to get my checklist, I've got to get my project plan for all of the ways that I'm going to do this. And we can run ourselves ragged pretty quickly, right? I want to have a good, robust spiritual life. So here are the 17 things I'm going to do every day in order to get that good spiritual life. And I want to love my neighbor as myself. So here are the 17 works of mercy that I'm going to do every day. But no human being is built for that. We can't go that fast or that far in our lifetime. We can do little sprints, but really we're made for the long haul. We're made for the marathon, which means we've got to temper ourselves. And we've got to be able to see that fulfilling the law that Jesus just laid out, this big, huge law, is not about doing great, big things. It's about being faithful in the moment, with looking forward to the opportunities that tomorrow will bring, but not counting or presuming that you'll even have it. And so to make the most of you can today with the limitations that we have. Now, this was a hard lesson that I've had to learn in my life, still learning it. You probably are too. We've got limitation built into us, right? I've only got 2 eyes. I wish I had 4. Imagine all of the extra things I could see and deal with, right? I've only got 2 ears. Wish I had more. I could hear twice as much, get as much more information. Only got 2 hands, only got 2 feet. I can only run so fast. I can only go so long without sleep. Like, we've got limitation built into us. And this is not a liability, my friends, unless we're looking at the big things as what we need to do. If it's the big things, solving world hunger, bringing about world peace, like, I don't have the ability to do that. But what if it's not? What if it's about the small things? What if it's about being faithful in the moment to what my 2 eyes can see, and what my 2 ears can hear, and what my 2 hands can do, where my 2 feet can bring me? And what if loving God with all of our heart and mind and soul and strength, and loving our neighbor as ourselves, isn't about some big lifelong project, but just about today? Just today. Being faithful to what is right in front of me. I don't know about you, but I will often lose sight of what's in front of me because of my bigger plan, because of all of the other things I want to accomplish. I can forget that there are real opportunities right here, right now, to love God. I can sometimes think of all of the spiritual books that I want to read, and all of the holy hours I want to say, and all of the hours of confessions that I want to do, that I can sometimes get lost in the forest and miss the trees that are right in front of me. Who cares if I am able to do an hour of prayer every day? What I should care about is what I'm able to do today with the strength and the energy and the availability that I have. And if I can make that gift just for today not presuming that I'll even have tomorrow to make another one, but just today, I will be able to fulfill the law of God today. And if I can look and see my neighbor just today, and their needs just today, and realize too that I can't fulfill all of their needs, again, I'm limited, and that's part of all of this. But if I can respond to what's right in front of me just for today, then I will find myself being faithful to these commandments. We've got to realize that these two big commandments, they are unfulfillable. And what I mean by that is that we're never going to fulfill them. We're never going to be able to hit the quota for loving God enough, or loving our neighbor enough, or loving ourselves enough. So why do so many of us spin our wheels trying to do that? Let's stay in the moment and love with what we have right here and right now. And we keep these loves in order but in balance. Love of God, love of neighbor, love of self. And we've got to remember that last one, because a lot of us forget it. And we think that being a good Christian means being a doormat for the world and letting everybody take advantage of us or stepping on us, and that's not true. Jesus tells us the law is summarized by loving God, loving neighbor as we love ourselves, which means we need to take good care of ourselves, which means we need to draw good boundaries in our relationships. Even with God, I cannot pray for 24 hours a day. I've got to sleep. I've got to eat. I've got to do other things, right? Does that mean that I'm not loving God as much as I can? No, it means I am loving God first and foremost, and that I'm making time for prayer, and I'm confessing my sins, and I'm coming to Mass, and I'm observing the commandments. But I'm also taking care of myself, and I'm also taking care of the needs of those around me, in my family, in my neighborhood, in my community. That's super important. But where we often fail is that because we then pour ourselves out in ways that are not good for us, we're left empty. And we will either continue to be empty and then grow resentful of each other and of God, or we will try to fill ourselves up with things that don't really fill ourselves up. My friends, today Jesus is showing us the way. He's showing us the way because he is the way. And he's telling us, guys, put it all into perspective. You are not going to earn your way to heaven. And you're not going to be able to do great things and big things and think that this is now a given for you. I'm calling you to faith. I'm calling you to fidelity. And that can only ever be lived out right in the moment, right in this small, tiny moment that we have been given. We're in the month of November now, which is a time when we remember those who have gone before us. We also remember the fragility of this life, and that we don't have an infinite number of moments. This world is fading away for each of us, and we only have so many of these moments, and we don't know when our last one will be. So let's not drive ourselves crazy trying to get as much in as we possibly can, and instead give our whole selves over to the moment. Let's pray today to be able to give ourselves over completely to this moment. We are here at Mass, and it's wonderful. And I know that there's a whole world out there of worries and anxieties and opportunities and excitement and all the kinds of things that you're thinking about that are going to happen after you leave. But try to make this moment as intentional and real and holy as you can. And let God fill you up. Come to this altar today with hearts that are ready and eager to receive him in Holy Communion. Come ready and willing to let him convert your mind, to let you live in freedom and in peace, and to give you the opportunity to love like you've never been loved before, and to be loved like you've never loved before. Let's pray today then that all of these good things will be given to us, not because they are big and great and we somehow have to climb our way to the top, but because God has made us good. He has made us great, and he wants us to find their fulfillment in the very smallest things of life.